Hello. Today we are talking about the update that was done on the Wild and Scenic River Plan for the Middle Fork Feather River. The plan has been updated by the spring 2021 Ecosystem Management class at FRC. Who are the students of the Ecosystem Management class? I'm Brittany Bonacorso.
I'm Megan Fletcher.
I'm Lindsay Gaspers.
I'm Chris Gatton.
And I'm Abby Hester, and our professor is Dr. Darla DeRider.
The Middle Fork was part of the original 8 rivers to be designated by the 1968 Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. The plan for the Middle Fork was written in 1970 and has not been updated since then. The plan is being updated under the guidance of the Plumas National Forest Service and Friends of Plumas Wilderness. Outstanding remarkable values that designated the river as wild and scenic are the fisheries and the scenery. The ORVs to the river are what guided us in planning for the future of the Middle Fork River.
The Middle Fork is 77.6 miles long and located from Sierra Valley to Lake Orville. 35 miles is recreational and has most access through roads and trails. 9.7 miles is scenic, which means that there's mostly access through trails and no dams or diversions are allowed. 32.9 miles are wild, and this is trail access only, with no dams or diversions. And most wild areas have mostly clean water. Middle Fork Canyon has a deep human history, beginning with the mountain Maidu. Nelson Creek is known to have a mining town of 500 people during the gold rush, and the U.S. Forest Service extracted mostly timber and gold during this time. There was originally 4 dams proposed on the Middle Fork after the Orville Dam. However, because of the wild and scenic designation, there was only the Orville Dam.
What's special about the Middle Fork? The Middle Fork has granite plutons like Bald Rock Dome that rise thousands of feet from the river bottom. The Middle Fork is on par with Yosemite Valley in its grandeur, and the serpentine and limestone like Little Volcano also make the Middle Fork a geological wonder. Unlike most rivers that drop quickly from their headwaters and then level out, the Middle Fork starts off flat, and then with a gentle gradient in the Sierra Valley, it gets steeper and then super rugged. What's special with the watershed project is that the state water project is on the Middle Fork as part of a water project that provides drinking water for 27 million Californians all the way to Southern California. It's critical that we keep the water clean for future generations because of this. What's also special about the Middle Fork is that there is ecological diversity from 900 feet to 4,000 feet in elevational gradient. East to west tributaries and a history of fire regimes means exceptional plant diversity that graces the Middle Fork. Mammal, reptile, and bird diversity is also exceptional, as well as fish. What's also special about the Middle Fork is the recreation. If you're looking for a rugged recreational adventure, the Middle Fork provides lots of opportunities. Hiking, wild trout fishing, and multi-day Class 5 kayak expeditions are just a few ways to enjoy this spectacular canyon. Bald Rock Canyon is the first wild zone at 900 feet in elevation. It is 5.5 miles long, starting at Lake Orville through Bald Rock Canyon to drainage just downstream of Millsap Bar Campground. Millsap Bar is the first scenic river zone at 16,000 feet in elevation. It is 3.6 miles long, starting at Millsap Bar to Half Mile and east of Devil's Gulch. The Upper Canyon section is the second wild river zone, ranging from 1,700 feet to 3,800 feet in elevation. The wild section is 27.5 miles in total, and it spans from Devil and Franklin Canyons to the confluence within Nelson's Creek. English Bar is the second scenic river section at 4,000 feet in elevation at a total of 6.1 miles. This section spans from Nelson Creek confluence past Red Bridge to Spring Garden Railroad Tunnel. And the last recreational river zone is at 4,880 feet in elevation and is at a total of 50.4 miles, starting at Spring Garden Railroad Tunnel through Slope, Mohawk, Blairsden, Clio, Portola, all the way to Beckworth, and it branches out into the Sierra Valley.
All right, so for trails, roads, and campgrounds, there are a dozen trails that go into the Middle Fork River. Many of them have been impacted by the North Complex Fire of 2020. Some of the most popular are listed on our slides here. As you can see, we have a National Scenic Trail, which is the Pacific Crest Trail or Butte Bar, and two designated as National Recreation Trails, which is Hartman Bar and Feather Falls. As far as roads go, going into the Middle Fork River, we have one road that is a two-wheel drive road that you can manage to make it on, which is the Millsap Bar Road, and the rest of the roads listed are all four-wheel drive. Campgrounds into the Middle Fork River, we have Red Bridge, which is an undeveloped campground with a vault toilet, as well as Cleghorn, Stag Point, and Millsap Bar, which are all developed campgrounds with a variety of sites, wooden picnic tables, and wilderness toilets.
Forest health and wildfire history of the area. With the Plumas National Forest, it is a mixed conifer forest type, and this forest type supports and thrives with low intensity frequent fires, which should happen about every 10 to 15 years. With heavy overlogging and years of fire suppression, we have impacted the forest's natural way that has left us with a buildup of fire fuels that are leading to the devastating high severity fires we are seeing. Contributing to the high severity fires is also climate change. And with that, we've seen less precipitation paired with longer, drier seasons. We are learning to incorporate traditional ecological knowledge, also known as teak, which is a Native American way of approaching the way we care for the land with the use of fire in a healthy way of clearing the forest. The North Complex Fire of 2020 started during a dry lightning storm on August 17th, 2020, resulting in two fires, the Bear Fire and the Claremont Fire. On September 8th, 2020, a windstorm swept through overnight and the two fires merged to become an over 300,000 acre fire burning right through the lower portion of the Middle Fork into Oroville. Pictured here is the result of the North Complex Fire in the lower section of the Middle Fork from Bald Rock Dome.
Water quality and quantity are very important issues that pertain to the Middle Fork, as the overall flows of the Middle Fork and surrounding rivers have declined dramatically during the last 20 years, as seen in the averages presented in the slide. Longer drought seasons and less annual snowpack has also contributed to smaller flows. And this is very important because it impacts neighboring communities and not just neighboring communities, but as well as the state water project and the rest of a lot of other parts of the state. The quality of water has been declining as of recent because of agricultural runoff and increased algae loading into the river. There's other threats to the Middle Fork that weren't named in the previous slide. As mentioned before, over 300,000 acre fire burnt due to lightning strikes on dry parts of the forest, which is in direct correlation to the fire suppression that we've seen over the last 100 years by the National Forest Service. This comes into it comes to directly affect the landslides and erosion and the other types of land runoff that's going to be heading into the river, as well as the decline in fisheries because of the increased population of algae. And as I said before, when you have more algae, you get less fish. So it's a big thing. Oh, as well, okay. Sorry. As well as the trash and there's been a very big increase of trash being left in the canyon, as well as other parts of the Middle Fork Feather, and leave no trace practices should be adhered to if you are going to go visit and use the river as recreation. There are a lot of economic benefits that can be directly drawn from classifying something as wild and scenic, as well as recreation. In the actual river document, I go into more detail about this, but there was 2 expenditures that were used: direct spending by visitors and willingness to pay. One was just the first example is just people coming to visit and how much money it grossed, as well as the willingness to pay of just people just paying into the actual protection of the river. And it is very economically significant. So that cannot be left out of the discussion. This is an overview of the overall recommendations for the river and how it should be managed in the future, with some examples being more contemporary processes like community outreach through technology and more stringent enforcements of regulations, as well as land usage and making sure people are knowledgeable about how to take care of the land while you're out there and using it. Sami. Oh.
Okay, recommendations for recreation facilities, roads, and trails. We recommend that an inventory be taken of the special recreation facilities, roads, and trails around the Middle Fork so we can determine what needs to be taken care of or managed better or replaced. Some examples of replacements needed within the facilities are the transition from pit toilets to composting toilets, as well as wooden picnic tables that have broken down to something, replacing it that would be more durable. What? Oh, because of the fire. Also, I was going to mention that with the signs. As well as signage within the Middle Fork that was damaged because of the North Complex Fire of 2020. We recommend no further development of the roads currently within the Middle Fork, only the maintenance of the existing roads. Recommendations as far as future protections. There are currently 7 branches of the Middle Fork River that are eligible for wild and scenic protection, and we're recommending that these eligible rivers be officially and finally designated as such. In addition to this, we are also recommending that the Middle Fork River itself be designated as a national monument. With this designation, it would improve the management, it was set into motion a resource management plan for the river in the future, as well as attracting potential funding for those management plans and elevating interest of the area, and also inspire significant flexibility in the management and use of the Middle Fork Feather River. Recommendations for extractive uses. We're recommending that management decisions be based on ecological priorities rather than commercial extraction. In regards to this, grazing, we recommend that the Forest Service review grazing practices and frequency regularly, in addition to mining, withdrawing from mineral entry and all future claims. In regards to timber and fuels, we recommend that frequent thinning, piling, and prescribed burning be done in order to enhance the health of the forest and the ecosystem surrounding the Middle Fork Feather River. Other recommendations in regard to extractive uses would be reduction in military overflights and minimizing light and air pollution in this geographical area as much as possible.
Regulations provide extra protection to the Middle Fork. These can include hunting limits, such as hunting seasons and tags for all mammals. Fishing limits can consist of bag limits, catch and release, fly fishing only, and barbless hooks. The Clean Water Act provides enforcement of runoff water from upstreams to private property. Hazardous waste such as herbicides and trash toxins from illegal marijuana grows, maintaining county building codes, and educating farmers on bad farming practices. Collaborating with partners and programs for research post-North Complex Fire include inventory of cultural resources, conditions of the trails and campsites from the fire, biodiversity indicators, plant and animal adaptations from climate change, and the effects of water quality from the fire. Helping others understand the value of the Middle Fork. Strategies include increasing awareness of the Middle Fork through signs and hot links. This also includes connecting people through that way. And then maintaining the rugged, wild feeling of the Middle Fork and building partners with nonprofits and government programs.
The acquisition of private parcels that are underdeveloped or undeveloped along the river boundaries will prove to be beneficial, and as well as identifying willing sellers that will work with the Plumas National Forest, as well as the Feather River Land Trust to use land and conservation funds to acquire those private inholdings of land of willing sellers. So that would prove to be very beneficial, as it gives more flexibility to access and manage the river from a lot of different points. And it also deters more pollutants and other types of businesses that will nutrient load or come to affect the river in a negative way. Fisheries are one of the biggest things that we talk about in the Feather River Plan, because it is one of the ORVs. So it is very important that we make sure to protect the fishing populations, as well as increase in spawning of macroinvertebrates such as caddisflies, stoneflies, and making sure we're keeping in touch with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, as well as making sure they are in connection with the U.S. Forest Service wildlife biologists to make sure we can maybe increase fishing populations by having larvae disbursement in certain parts of the river where it's heavily fished, and making sure that we make sure that the community adheres to bag limits and such like that, so we don't damage the fish populations as little as we can. So that's the best way to go about it. And these are just some acknowledgements and thank yous that we'd like to say. Daryl, Jerry, because for all the recommendations and all the editing you did on the initial river plan. Leslie Edlin for just giving us the absolute base information to hit the ground running with all of this. And Dick Larson and Larry Ferdever for just being absolute awesome role models to us and how we can further manage this river to be the most beautiful and great river in Northern California. So thank you.